Okay, you found this. I love this. Two of some of the greatest op-eds in history.
Yeah.
We always save the E-block, the last block.
Peak corporate media right here.
This is peak corporate brain, media, rot, so many different ways to describe it. Let's put these joint op-eds. They dropped on the exact same day, which is kind of amazing to me. Thomas Friedman of The World is Flat fame says Biden Cheney 2024, but even worse over at the Wall Street Journal.
I don't know
Hillary
which one's worse.
Clinton's 2024 election comeback. Oh my God. So let's start with this. By the way, I posted that on Instagram and I got a hilarious joke saying that Hillary is on her 5th Horcrux. That's for all my Harry Potter fans out there. Look, let's go ahead and actually consider this, right? What exactly is the Hillary argument that they're saying here? So Doug Schoen and Andrew Stein. So they say Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have become unpopular. It is time for a change candidate. Nothing says change like Hillary
Clinton.
4 times a charm, folks. And the amazing thing, though, is that the tortured logic of it makes sense. Kamala is super unpopular. Joe Biden's Quinnipiac poll just came out. He's at 32%, one of the lowest on record for a sitting American president in his first year in office, nearing Trump territory without any of the actual, the actual fervor of his own base. And so they look at Kamala being as if not more so unpopular than Biden, and they go, okay, well, who's somebody who could do it? Hillary. And those of us are saying, yeah, but how much more marginally popular is she? I mean, maybe a little bit more than Kamala, but this is still somebody who is probably the most odious and hated American figure in modern politics. And
Plus,
then,
you know she
literally
loser.
already lost.
She's a routine proven
She lost
loser.
to the likely Republican candidate of 2024.
Oh my God.
It says also a lot about the fact that how do we keep putting up the same people over and over and over again? That is a sign
sad.
of a stagnating republic. But the other one is also important to understand from Thomas Friedman, because this is just pure New York Times, like neoliberal brain.
Lib brain.
Because what he's like, well, Liz Cheney stood up for democracy. And so Joe Biden and Liz Cheney can team up in order to defend democracy because this is the real right-left. And, the point we try to make here, right and left in the way that you understood it in 2004, that does not make any goddamn sense in the year 2022. Biden and Cheney have a lot in common in terms of their political orientation, in terms of their policy priorities, in terms of their record on the war in Iraq. I mean, that's why this block is called Uniparty, because that's really what it is.
Yeah.
If you look at the institutional interests of Washington that the two of them seem to represent, there is not a lot of difference between the two. And you look at the brain of the pundits, and this is how they grapple with the idea of Biden losing popularity amongst the American people. They cannot tell you why Biden is unpopular. And the story of why informs what you want to do in order to correct it.
The idea that a Cheney would be the savior of democracy.
Nuts. Right.
That's the real left-right divide is also complete nonsense. And that, it's actually useful op-ed because this is the ideology of liberal elites at this point. That's how they're able to make common cause with someone like Liz Cheney and put aside all of the totally abhorrent, militaristic tendencies of her and, record of her father and all of that and say, oh, this is a hero. This is someone we should embrace. This is someone we should make common cause with. This is how you end up with, Nicole Wallace as one of the top liberal stars on MSNBC. This is how you end up with all of these like FBI, CIA types being given cushy contracts, because what are they gonna stand for? Making more speeches about January 6th? That's what you really think, like, the Democratic Party needs right now?
That's what they think.
Is to double down on January 6th and voting rights, which is just like a debate about process effectively. Like, I support it, it's fine. But if you're just arguing about like the mechanics of the process, you're not even really playing the game. So it exposes the true way that they think about the country and the type of divide, the type of divisive politics that they want. And it's a type that maintains everything as bad as it is, but offers more Lin-Manuel Miranda show tunes, more kneeling in kente cloth, more 1/6 denunciation, which ultimately doesn't threaten the livelihoods or the lifestyles of the elite class, and allows them to feel good and virtuous about themselves, feel like they're doing the right thing, feel like they're on the right side of history, without actually being committed to effectuating a single change. On the Hillary thing.
Yes.
So I was actually debating with Kyle a little bit about this.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was like,
what does he think?
Well, he was like, I'm starting to believe that this is a real possibility, because the case he laid out to me is basically like, because I think she's going to want a rematch with Trump.
Yeah.
And the political circle around her has vested like personal financial interest in continuing the dream. And that the Democratic Party is stupid enough to think that this could be a sort of unifying candidate, and the other candidates are total failures and obviously unpopular. So he was like, I think she really may be actually thinking about it. I just can't. The biggest to me, I want to say I can't believe the Democratic Party is stupid enough to do this, but
I can believe that.
I can believe that, actually.
Yeah.
I think the biggest problem for her is that her fan base would be the type that would say, how can you push aside the first woman of color vice president? I think for her, that would be a real stumbling block and very difficult to overcome, which would make her a divisive figure even among her own like sort of most hardcore lib fans in the Democratic base.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's just the entire thing is, I don't see how it could happen. That being said, it's more of indicative of the mindset from which they are now going to try and find whoever it does come to ultimately replace Biden, be it 2024 or be it 2028. This is the brain which leads you to say Pete Buttigieg is the person to save the Democratic Party. I agree. I agree.
Pete. And we're gonna, for tomorrow, we're gonna be talking to the Daily Poster about the millions of dollars of dark money. I mean, there are donors who are really behind this guy. There are machinations behind the scene. I mean, the challenge for him too is how do you displace the first black woman vice president? I mean, listen, if you
I love that he's in this predicament. I think it's hilarious.
That's what you lean hard into this just totally hollow, shallow, content-free identity politics, and it can get weaponized right back at you. And so I think that's the conundrum that he's going to find himself in. That being said, Democratic Party has, ways of moving people aside and strong-arming, especially someone like Kamala, who ultimately is like, her only relevance comes from her proximity and power within the Democratic Party. So she's going to be reluctant to go against them or like say anything negative about them in any sense. So.
I think it still has to be Kamala. I don't see a way that it can't be. It has to be hers. It's hers for the taking. The Democrats are just too cowardly in the elite in order to say anything. And they're just too susceptible to the attack that they're stopping a black woman from achieving her dreams. So that is just going to be, it's the most politically powerful force amongst elites. Is accusations of racism, and that's going to be something that is weaponized to the extent that you have never even seen. Anybody who questions it is going to be accused of, of some of the most heinous things, and that is going to then lead to her losing in a proportion of which the likes of which we have not seen in almost a century. FDR level blowout.
It's going to be bad, and they will embrace her. Even knowing that.
Yeah, they will, because they're cowards.
Because they're cowards, because to them, signaling their personal virtue is way more important than achieving power, or certainly achieving power and actually doing something with it.
Oh, very true.
So I think you have a good point there. It's gonna be Kamala, guys.
It'll be fun to watch.
Very likely.
It'll be fun to watch.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut. Our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions. All that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.